Hello, masters and princesses. Welcome to another edition of Made News Network. I am here with good old SJ Nix, and we have a very special guest today. And we happened, both of us were guests on this man's show along with his other hosts. But what we wanted to do today was to really find out about the guy behind the gaijin. So, we'd like to welcome to you today, good old Alan from Dicodec and Gaijin Guys. Welcome.
Thank you, man.
Morning. How are you doing?
Not as special as you guys. You guys are the most special guests ever.
That is true. That is true. So just real quickly, before we get into like all the other stuff, first question out of the gate, who do you hate the most from Gaijin Guys?
Wow. I'm not gonna lie, instantly Ryan came to my head.
All right, there's your answer, guys.
I love Ryan. That is funny. Him and I have, we probably talk a lot. Actually, we all talk the most. I gotta say, if I base it on who I talk to the least, let's go with Champ. You know, it's
Okay.
always Champ. Yeah, Champ always disappears on us. There you go. No, I love them all equally. I got to know Ryan the most. So actually, I'm really probably say pretty close with Ryan, just because we were on the Band-Maid circuit together on a lot of shows. So we had a lot of time to talk and stuff like that. But we're all pretty close, man. Like, it's crazy that there's no falling outs. You know what I mean? Normally in a group, there's always, like you said, like, who do you hate the most? Like, there's always a member that kind of drops off or something like that, or lose connection. I'm really shocked with how well we're able to keep it together, you know?
Yeah.
So how long is that? How long have you guys been doing that? You guys crack the year mark yet for Gaijin?
The year. Yeah, it's been a year now. Which is crazy. Been a year and something days, not even a month. So yeah.
So whose idea was that? Who was like, oh, hey, why don't we try to get together and all talk about Japanese music together?
Yeah, I mean, I had the idea for a long time. The biggest thing that I saw in the community there was a lack of reactors getting together and talking to each other. There's some passing of comments and stuff like that. And I always was like, why is there not a podcast or something of like reactors, you know, specifically musicians? In my head, I was like, it'd be really cool to get 4 musicians that love music. But, you know, there's a lot of those podcasts already out. And I'm like, well, I really love Japanese music in general. So what I started doing at first, this kind of accumulated over time. This idea is one of those things like I wanted to start a podcast. I wanted to get reactors together. My whole goal is to get the community together since the beginning. So I was like, when I started doing reactions with Eric and Dicodec, we're like, I don't get why people aren't talking to each other. So what I started doing was I started interviewing reactors. You guys probably saw that on Dicodec channel where I started bringing in random reactors from like Anastasia Luna to a bunch of members from bands that weren't well known, just to kind of get a feel of who's out there, who really wants to talk about this stuff. And later on, I was like, well, there's already podcasts about music and stuff like that, but there's nobody in the English speaking world really talk about Japanese music. There's people talking about it, but it's just like singular people. And I've always been a fan of the conversation as a fan of podcasts myself. And I was just like, I was on the search. I was on the hunt. I'm like, okay, I need to find 3 other people that also love Japanese music, which, you know, narrows it down, right? So now I'm like, all right, got to keep looking. And that's how it kind of starts. So I started reaching out to everybody. Had a couple different members slide in and out here and there depending on availability, and finally I just set upon these 3 guys that are with me now, and it just happened to work out because they were available. They're into Japanese music as much as I was, and it just worked out.
It's kind of wild because knowing some of the other reactors in that space who have done other, you know, Japanese bands, all 4 of you I had watched independently before you came together as a group. So it was kind of neat to see that. And I don't know that I would say each one of you is I don't know the epitome of that type of reacting, but it was weird that the 4 of you came together and it works really, really well. Each one of you brings a certain you're kind of like you're like the loose cannon. Everybody has their own little niche within the group, you know?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. You know, Wave's biggest thing, like, let's talk about each of the members real quick. Wave's biggest thing, why I loved him, was that he's so likable. Everybody likes him, you know. Since I've been growing up, I've known that I haven't been a likable person, so I've always had those friends around me that are likable. That's always
I'm glad you know that. I'm glad you know that.
You know what I mean? So like, that's why Eric and I work so well together. I'm like, I can't do this shit by myself. Like, people hate me. Just, they look at me like I hate this guy for some reason. Like, I've always realized that. So I'm just like, all right, cool. We got the super likable person. We got the grumpy bastard over here, Ryan, you know, but also passionate though, you know, like passionate about music. And then we had Champ, who can talk. He can talk no matter what, like no matter like if we can't come up with something to say, Champ's always there, you know? So I think it worked just having those 4 different personalities, because we all complement each other in our weaknesses. And that's what I noticed was really cool about everybody. And that was kind of like after the fact, you know? Everyone just complements those weaknesses, where like maybe Wave doesn't like to call out shit as much, where I do, you know, or maybe Ryan's really good at calling out, like, what's that word? When you contradict yourself, you know, when you're like, wait a second, let me challenge your thoughts real quick. And I love like, for me, as like, I have friends, I love having those types of friends around. I love having that friend that'll challenge you, be like, hey, dude, that kind of thought's fucked up. And I'm, at least I can be like, oh, you know what, that you're right. That's kind of like a little weird. Let me rethink that through, you know? And like I said, like I just said about Champ, like he could talk. And I think it was just a good mesh, you know. And that was kind of on accident, you know. I just, like I said, when I was searching for people, I was just searching for passion. That was the main thing. That was just like, they have to be passionate about music. If they're not, it's not going to work, because we won't be able to talk about anything. So that's what I saw with all 3 of those guys. There's passion for music in there, you know. And you know, of course, they just all happen to be playing instruments too, you know, so it just worked out.
That's a huge bonus, by the way, too, that all of you guys are musicians. Definitely adds.
Oh, because there's that language.
I think that's how you grow the passion, right? Oh, sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, that's all I was gonna say. I think that's what grows the passion. That's why it makes it so easy to talk about. So I know Champ doesn't play as much anymore, but he still had the background. You know, I feel like when you've been in it a little bit, you just know, you just have something that just develops along the way of the music. You can add that passion and your frustrations. Maybe like for people that did play music before, I think it's really relatable with people, because they're like, oh yeah, I remember when I tried to play instruments and why I didn't want to play it. And that's what I love about Champ's perspective, because sometimes he'll talk about those, like, yeah, I remember when we were just playing those shitty ass clubs and why I quit playing and stuff. It's really cool. It's really cool. I don't think there's a lot of people willing to go and talk about that stuff, you know. It's normally the successful musicians, not, you know what I mean, that are out there talking about it. I kind of like, we're like musicians in progress, you know what I mean? I guess you could say, like, we're trying to make something of ourselves,
Right.
which I think is a little different than what you kind of see out there already.
Right. Working a little bit backwards. So we're talking about Gaijin Guys and you bringing this group together. So I guess you're kind of like, you know, you're like Tony Stark bringing in the Avengers. But working your way backwards, when did you decide that you wanted to actually go into YouTubing and being a YouTuber and reacting in the first place? Like, why did you do that? When was that? What kind of brought that about?
Oh God. Recognizing that touring was not going to work is what drove me to YouTube. I had been touring already. I played with a band called I Artifact and March of Kronos, and we're successful in our own right. We toured in Mexico and we did the West States, and we didn't go too far, you know, but like we were always coming back broke and poor, and I had a really good job at the time. I was a district manager for Carl's Jr. So I was fine, but like, yeah, we had falling in and outs of bands, and I've always joined other bands because instead of trying making Dicodec work, eventually I was like, you know what, I'm going to work on my own music. And then I started Dicodec, and the band members I had in the beginning, I told them straight up, I'm like, we're got to do this online. So those videos are unlisted right now, but there's a lot of old Dicodec videos from 2016, I believe, 2016, of us just like kind of recording the process of us going to do music videos and stuff like that, really shitty videos. And all those members quit because they said that YouTube is a luck game and stuff like that. So I lost a lot of members. So eventually, I finally got members that were all down for it. And then it ended up with just being Eric and I had this epiphany. I was just like, I wanted to make money really fast. So I went into YouTube with the wrong idea. I was like, let's do this. I think I can do this, because I saw some kids reacting to anime and they fucking had tons of views. And I'm like, well, fuck, let's just do that. I like, we'll react, like, because I have an opinion, you know. I'm ready to say some stuff. I got a lot of things I want to say, you know. And I'm watching these other people and they're not saying nothing. And I'm like, and they're doing this well. So I went into it for the wrong reasons, right? So like kind of put the band on hold. I told Eric, I'm like, let's do this. You love anime. I know nothing about it. Let's go and react to anime shows. But so anyways, we start reacting. We're working on it. I'm working on my editing skills. I start working on video editing. We join a legit YouTube course that we follow along with, and I start practicing and we start doing it. But then I realized it wasn't going really well, because I was like kind of dunking on the anime series and people were like pissed off at Eric because he wasn't defending it enough. And because you guys see me on the Gaijin Guys, I'll talk. You know, so I'm pretty much convincing Eric of all my shitty points, right? So I'm like convincing him. It just wasn't. But something that stood out to me while watching the anime was the music. I was like, damn, opening Attack on Titan, which we did a cover to with Dicodec, I was like, man, I really fucking love the music to this. And I like My Hero Academia, I liked it too. I'm like, there's just something about it, nostalgic. I just like it. I like the music a lot. And Eric was like, then I saw music reactions. I didn't get it. I was like, why do people want to watch music? But then I went down Jamal, aka Jamel, one of my favorite reactors that got me into watching reaction videos. I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it, because I get to watch him react to Korn and Linkin Park and all the stuff I grew up with. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is phenomenal, you know? And I told Eric, I'm like, let's do reactions of music. Like, let's do the anime song. So we chose Attack on Titan and we chose covers of it. And Eric was like, oh, I want you to check out this one to Death Note. I was like, sweet. I'm like, I got some 90s songs I want to show you, because in my head, I loved how he reacted to the 90s music. So I wanted to show Eric what I grew up with, because Eric and I are about 6 years apart, but there's like a pretty gap there. You know, I'm more in the grunge era, 90s era that I love. And I wanted to show Eric that. I was excited to show him. So I showed him like some Candlebox, some Nirvana, some like older stuff, right? And so we recorded 4 reaction videos. We put them up, and I fell in love with the Death Note opening. Like, absolutely in love with it. It was like everything I wanted to hear, and it was Maximum the Hormone. So it ended up being Maximum Hormone. And we put those videos up, and all of a sudden, Maximum Hormone video just blew up. And I was like, well, I actually fucking love doing this. So fuck the anime shit. Sorry for the cussing. Am I allowed to cuss?
Too late.
About 5 minutes in.
Sorry.
After you run over the cat, I'm so sorry.
I get passionate about this story stuff. Anyways, but what was I saying? God damn.
You said forget the anime, let's do the music. Maximum the Hormone, it blew up.
Yeah, I was like, I love doing this. I'm like, I don't want to chase views, pretty much, even though we're technically chasing views because we saw Maximum Hormone did well. But the thing that helped with that was I loved doing it. Like, it was so fun. I was like, well, this is really fun to do. Like, also, so at that point, I finally had the right mental shift of like, I'm doing this for the right reasons. You know what I mean? I finally had that mental shift. But I appreciate everything I did on the anime channel, because that's how I learned how to edit videos. Because we edited like 24 to 48 hours straight on those videos. It was a long process, right? And so I learned so much through my class and course that I was taking at the time. I met great friends like Vicky, who sings in our covers. A little side note, that's how I met her. It was all because of YouTube. Anyway, so that's how we got into it. I know that was a long freaking story, but that's how we got into doing reactions. Started with Maximum Hormone, and everybody started saying Band-Maid, and then Baby Metal, and then it just kept going from there. So I'm a little different from the other guys. I started off on Maximum Hormone. A lot of people start off with Baby Metal or something else. For us, it was MTH, and that's what like drew us into the whole Japanese scene. And then my mind was just blown.
What band opened your eyes to Japanese music? Like, oh my God, there's so much going on over here, because the West has been pretty stagnant for a while, at least in my opinion.
It was Maximum Hormone. Like that's all we would react to back then. Like we just kept going down. And then I listened to Band-Maid afterwards, and they just didn't get me at first until later on.
What year was this?
Oh shoot. This is 2020, I believe, in June.
Oh wow, not that far away at all. Jeez.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're about to hit our third year. Like, it's crazy. Great. So in the first year, I'm trying to remember the next band that we did. Somebody tried to get us to do Nightwish and stuff like that, and it didn't do it for us. We weren't too into it. I wasn't mainly. And then but I gotta say Maximum Hormone, just because I didn't realize that there were people out there that love that style of music. Because if you listen to Dicodec's last EP, it's very progressive. But the problem here in Texas was nobody liked the music. So when I discovered that there was a whole side of the world that enjoyed progressive music and actually embraced it, and like didn't mind melodic vocals over heavy stuff, because that's all I try to do. My whole goal with Dicodec was grunge singing metal music. That was the whole idea. Like I wanted that mixture. Because I like screaming here and there. I have my deathcore roots and stuff like that, but like I grew out of it. I'm like, I'm sick of people yelling and screaming into the mic. If you're gonna scream, it needs to have a purpose. So my whole idea was like melodic vocals, heavy stuff. So when I found Maximum Hormone, I'm like, holy shit, what is this? And then so I had an obsession with it, and then we had Happy Has Naniori would be another one that just blew my mind. It was just like, what is this? I always say that would be another band. And then Baby Metal. Baby Metal was like, I didn't even know what to think at that point, because we were watching Road to Resistance. I'm like, what is this? And I found out Herman Lee was on that track, and I'm like, we were just kind of just randomly checking out music at that time. We still are, but like now it's a little bit more specific, but it was just so random, and then we just went down that hole. I would have to go look at my past videos to see, but I have to say it was mainly Maximum Hormone that really opened my eyes to all that stuff.
Are you a Benjo Sandals kind of guy?
I love Benjo Sandals, and I do that. It's funny because they were talking about, that was another thing I really resonated with Maximum Hormone, was how when they got into the childhood, how they grew up, and I'm like, wow. I was just super relatable. I was that kid that would wear shorts and sandals in the middle of wintertime out in the snow. So I was that weird kid. I have a hoodie on, shorts on, sandals, would be fucking walking out. So when they were talking about that stories of Rio getting made fun of and stuff like that, it was it really resonated with me. And they have some songs that are about that too, and which was really cool. So it just furthered my love for them. And then they had songs about ramen, and I'm like, this is great. Because it's still catchy, it's still I don't know. It's just it makes you have a good time, makes you forget about your problems. That band's it just makes you feel good in general. But they can bring it down to some serious levels when they need to. But for most of the time, it's just about having fun and kind of screw the noise, right? Screw all the haters, I guess you could say.
No, I mean, I think it's great that when music can go beyond just, this is great music, and it gets to a level where you can relate to it on a personal level. And then you connect with not just the music, but the people behind the music. I think it's deeper. I think that's one of the ways that I think, at least for myself, and I'm sure with Scott too, and I don't know exactly how much, but that's why we connect with Band-Maid, because they're such people and they're so relatable and you can connect with them. So no, that's awesome that you feel that way with Maximum the Hormone. I mean, so there, do you feel a deep connection with the members? Not because you've interacted with them per se, but just because of what you know of them.
This is why I tell everyone I'm really biased when it comes to Maximum Hormone. This is why I was I used to say they're like my favorite Japanese band, but like then when I really thought about it, it's more because it's just related to me personally. Like I love Band-Maid, but I definitely relate to the members of Maximum Hormone way more than Band-Maid because
You're not
they
a Japanese maid.
for one, yeah, I'm not Japanese made. It's just like the way that they talk about how they grew up, you know, with now and them pushing through struggles, just super relatable. So I'm like, I think that's what kind of really cemented my love for the band so much. And I realized that kind of went beyond just the music because it's really good music, but it's not like the best music ever either. I totally realized that, you know. But it's one of those things that it's just I'm just so relatable. It's just so relatable for me that they just want to have a good time. They don't want to think about all the shit they went through. You know what I mean? But they kind of get it off their chest and they overcome the struggles, the fact that nobody wanted to listen to their style of music. And they're pretty big in Japan, you know, for doing that style. That's pretty crazy. And they've and the fact that they so many awesome bands like Band-Maid, Nemophila coming out of it, those drummers looking up to now, I'm just like, that's phenomenal. Nemophila is like, woo, one of my favorites right now. I can't stop listening to that new album. And I think that's really cool. And I was like, wow. Not only did they like get out of the norm, they inspired these great new Japanese bands we're listening to right now, which is super impressive. And I don't think Maximum Hormone gets that credit like other famous Japanese groups or all-stars.
Definitely. I mean, when you see girls that can get up on stage and just kick major ass, then you're like, hey, I could kick your ass too, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that sort of that power that's brought.
Yeah, because that's something you like, I would say for me, you don't really think about that because it's already been represented, right? You're like, you didn't even realize because you don't think about that until later on. So when people bring it up, I'm like, that's a good point. You don't really think about it when that's all you see, right? Meaning like myself as a white male, I've already seen it before. I never thought about it like that though. I never thought about, oh shit, who knows, right? You're absolutely right because I don't know that other side, the other perspective. So that's like when I think you talked about it in a podcast, Peter. I was like, that's a really good point. You were saying like just saying someone representing you and like for me, I never experienced that like not being represented. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's a weird thing that I've thought about. I'm like, damn, I never saw it that way. Because like when I see like other members playing, don't even think about it. I'm just like, oh, they're just fucking playing music. But it's easy to be like that when you've already seen it. Right.
Well, I mean, and I say that because, you know, back when I was younger and I was pursuing music, and, you know, I even had a cousin who knew a lot of people in the industry, and he's actually the guy who told Linkin Park, he told them, okay, you guys need to wait. Don't sign with this small label. You'll get a major label. Just wait. And I shared some of my music with him. He was like, "Oh, this is pretty good, but you're Asian. Like this can't sell. Like if you're the lead, then you're very, very limited." And for me, even seeing someone like Joe Han from Linkin Park go up there and do his little DJ thing, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's a Korean up there. That's awesome." You know, all those little bits and pieces of like this Asian or that Asian, at least for me living in America, it really gave me hope that it was a possibility. Of course, now
That's
it's
crazy.
like BTS is the biggest thing in the world, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but you know, I think more and more people realize, oh, you could be anything, anyone, and you can still pursue these dreams.
Something about the US that we're really good about is overcorrection. Because now it's the opposite, right? Now if Linkin Park came out today, they'd be like, oh, we need the Korean singing. You know what I mean?
Put Joe in the front.
Yeah, we need you in the front. Like
Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Yo, Mike, get up there.
Yeah, it'd be completely different, man. So I think this is just a perfect time for like any bands that are from other countries and stuff to come over to the US and tour. You know, it's like a great time. And I love it because hopefully these stubborn assholes that are out here will wake up and like start doing something different with music, you know? So
I'm waiting to see how this Nemophila tour does, I think it's kind of a canary in the coal mine for
Mm.
Japanese music. They do good. I think that will translate into other bands going, oh, well, we're not huge, but I think we could make it work too.
Nemophila has a really rough spot here because they have screaming and clean vocals.
Mm.
So in the US, you either want all screaming or you want all clean. That's how it is. It's just the way it is. There's a band that came out of El Paso called Not My Master, blew up in their own right. All screaming, hardcore, FU, blah, blah, blah. That was their shtick. That's what they did. Or you're completely clean, like Band-Maid. They have a specific sound. Even for us, I know we think of it as like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's different because it is. But on the surface, you have Psyche's melodic vocal lines, and they're pretty consistent with being that, right? I think that's why Band-Maid is so successful to have a consistent sound. Nemophila is not consistent sound-wise at all.
They do like grab at a whole bunch of different bags, and
in the US, that's not, that's a little frowned upon. That's why Dicodec suffered. They're like, what? You got a punk riff and then a metal riff and then clean. Nemophila is in that same thing. The thing that helps them, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but this is all female band, that might help them overcome that issue where there's going to be guys out there that don't even care. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, if we're being real about it, so they could overcome that in general. And as that, how it starts, then they'll start breaking over to other bases, other demographics, I think. But it's going to be really hard for them because, like, for example, if they're playing in Texas, oh man, I don't know who they're playing with. If they're playing with a bunch of heavy bands, I would say you better choose all the screaming songs, You better go out on the set list, choose all the screaming songs, because that's the best way to do it in the US. That's how we used to do it when we played with certain groups. We'd be like, all right, only the heavy songs, guys, or the ones with the most screams, let's do those, because they would think we're too soft. And then, like, if we played with a bunch of punk bands or alternative rock, we'd be like, all right, let's play Orthodoxy, where we play all of our clean rock songs.
I just listened to that right before this interview. I was looking like when exactly you guys had joined YouTube, and so I listened to Orthodoxy for the first time. I was like, okay, all right, let's see what else there is. I was just checking out some of your stuff. So just as an offside real quickly, what song are you most proud of with Dicodec? What's your personal favorite, like, out of your songs?
If we're going sentimental, I would say You're Not Gonna Win. That's an actual recording of my grandfather before he passed away. I had a bunch of cassettes that he was schizophrenic and Alzheimer's, all the good stuff when you're aging. He had all of them. He was like collecting them pretty much. But he would talk to people out in his backyard and he would go off on them. And that song is called You're Not Gonna Win, because he's like, and you're not gonna win, and I'll tell you, he's like stuttering and all this stuff. And it was such a haunting thing. And I don't know. I just was listening to all these tapes because apparently I like to be depressed. And I had inspiration and I just pulled my guitar out. And so the unique thing about this, this is just a cassette. I just played the cassette and wrote the riffs to what he was saying. So literally the drums and everything are written to his speaking and
his rhythm.
I loved it. And then that's how the whole song came about. And that's why it's a very progressive. That's why it goes to clean, because it was, when you have those diseases, you have, like, they call it the eye of the storm kind of thing, where you have that, what is it called? Lucid, like where you're lucid. Yeah.
Yes.
So you have that moment where you're lucid. So the end of the song is where he's lucid. And we end with that scream because he's like, oh, I'm back. I'm back to insanity, So I think that was probably the most, I guess that's the song I'm the most proud of, I would say.
Okay.
As a written song. But,
I need to go listen to that now.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I wrote a song for a friend of mine that was murdered. I wrote the entire song, the lyrics and all the music in about 15 minutes, and I couldn't keep up with how fast it was coming out of me. It's not the greatest song in the world, but it's something that was really important. So when you're telling me that story, I'm like, yeah, I get it, dude. I really do.
Yeah. It helps too, right? It probably helped you quite a bit to write along with that.
And Dicodec itself, so Orthodoxy, that was put up in 2016. And so how many years has the Dicodec been around?
I would say, I mean, technically 2014, but it's been
Okay.
like, that's when the channel started to, I think, initially, but we weren't really doing much. And we're trying to figure things out there. And then the actual releasing of content was in 2020 when we're like, all right, let's do this reaction thing. Because when we started doing the reactions, one thing I wanted to do, so this was Dicodec. I talked about how Gaijin Guys came about, but there was a plan also after the first 3 weeks. We're like, okay, this is really cool. I'm like, all right, well, what is nobody doing? I was like, nobody's covering these Japanese bands. Everyone's saying they're a musician, they can do this, and they're talking about the music, but nobody's covering these bands. And that's when the next thing happened, where I'm like, let's cover these songs. And Eric was like, you're fucking insane. Like, how are we gonna find a Japanese singer? How are we gonna do this? Like, what is this gonna, how are we gonna make this happen? Right. And I was like, that's when I was like, Vicky enters the chat. I was like, wait a second. Vicky's been to Japan multiple times. She's from Hong Kong originally, but she could sing in Japanese very easily. And so and her and I did music before. I produced music for her, recorded and did all that stuff. So I was like, I didn't even think about it, because we did a Digimon cover together. Or we did oh my God, I can't remember the anime. They're on a train. I don't know. I can see it, but I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I've done anime covers with her. Demon Slayer. That's right. We did Demon Slayer. We did quite a bit. And so, yeah, that's when you got Attack on Titan cover. We did that little short where we're like riding horses and stuff. It looks all cheesy. We're getting attacked by Titans and stuff. We did Digimon, and that's when that all started. So the whole premise of Dicodec was like, let's also react. The bands that we actually love a lot that we're reacted to, let's actually cover their music. And then that was like the premise moving forward.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so you steeped yourself in Japanese music accidentally. You started off shitting on anime, and then it became this huge like gold mine of like Maximum the Hormone, Japanese music, Japanese rock, metal. You're discovering all these bands. You've been at it for all these years. So in terms of inspiration, because I'm sure there's been a slight alteration in terms of the way that maybe you write, the way that you process what you're trying to do, the way that maybe you want to arrange, maybe what kind of sound you want to create. Like what bands that you've listened to over the past few years, specifically in the Japanese area, have you just said, oh, I really like this, I really like this? Were you just trying to like, go shopping a little bit and say, oh, I want to grab this tone, or I want to do this rhythm? Like, what bands have really kind of, challenged you and pushed you and makes you want to create, and has kind of really sort of affected the way that you hear things?
Oh yeah, so to be honest on this part, it actually made me not play. I just recently got back into it because I realized reactions started getting stale really fast. And I'm like, why am I not loving this as much? And I'm sure people that watch Dicodec channel, they probably saw the passion and fun that we're having in the beginning, and they can tell that it's tapering away. And I think it's because I got disconnected from mixing, producing, mastering, and it really started to show. I just got back into it. That's why we pulled out the 2 covers in a month. Well, 3 covers now. Like, this is like, I'm getting back into it. So to answer your question, Peter, though, about, the thing that I would say, the band that's inspired me the most to write new things is Band-Maid, for sure. 100%. Maximum the Hormone was riffs I was already playing. I was already playing like that. That was already in my style. Like, that's what attracted me to Japanese music, because I didn't know other bands did this, because we were just this Dicodec band that playing this weird shit, and everyone was like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, somebody's got to be playing this, like progressive new metal / whatever you want to call it. So that's why I fell in love with that band. So like, but I would say the most is Band-Maid, because Baby Metal and Maximum Hormone feel comfortable playing. I already know that. I'll already know that feeling. I would say that probably, to answer your question, inspires me the most to do weird things, to do something different, because it's very unconventional the way that Konami writes stuff. So I say that's the band that definitely made me, now, like when I'm looking at it, writing stuff, when I work on the vocal melodies on guitar, like I did with Sayo nakidori, I've done Psyche's vocals multiple times. I'll be like, hey, this is how you play the major scale, and then I'll play her vocal line. I love doing those videos. So I would say that has inspired me the most.
Let's move on to, what was your first Band-Maid song actually? Was it Thrill?
Oh my God, no, it wasn't. Here, I just looked this up the other day. Here we
Because
go.
you coming in at 2020, man, you had what was available in 2020 was really a lot.
A lot. A lot.
Yeah. And I feel so weird about this. And there's a lot of people that are not, not like probably are not Dicodec fans because of early Band-Maid reactions, because I wasn't into it. But I think they came for Eric, because Eric was really into Band-Maid out the gate. Much more than I was. So, because you got to remember, so the first one was Domination, and then Domination Live. So I know people are going to hate me for this right now, but
no, please be honest, as you always are.
When I first heard Domination, I was like, this sounds like Everything in the West. Instantly. This is like, oh, this is the stuff here on the radio everybody listens to. I'm like, I don't want to hear more of this. That's honestly what went through my head when I first heard Domination, because I didn't look at it as, I didn't look into it deeper. You know what I mean? And then after that, we did Glory, we did Dice. Wasn't feeling it. I was like, this is, I don't know. And then it was later on, and actually, those are still not my favorite songs by, Domination is now. I love Domination, but Dice is not one of my favorite Band-Maid songs. It's a good song, but it's like, it was really weird. So this is what I was introduced to, and then we did Play afterwards. Still wasn't into it, I don't think, at that point, but we kept trying. Puzzle, I think, was the first breakthrough for me, because I think I like teared up during the acoustic one. I was like, oh shit. I really felt that one. And then I don't remember. And then we did Freedom. I was iffy about it. We did Thrill, and I can't remember exactly how I felt about Thrill after that, but I think Don't You Tell Me I really liked a lot. But even Blooming, like I said, I liked it, but wasn't into it like at first. And then something just changed, and it was with Unseen World. And then I went back to, now I love the World Domination album, but it's kind of crazy. The only album I need to start listening to again is Conqueror. That's the last one. I think Conqueror has a lot of the songs that probably didn't grab me in the beginning, like Unseen World did, and World Domination. Yeah.
Well, here's a quick question. Oh, do you want to follow up anything, SJ?
So, so what was it about? My very politically incorrect way to describe Unseen World is it's an abusive relationship. It beats the living hell out of you, but you keep coming back for more.
Well, I love abuse. So as you guys have learned from this podcast, I love torturing myself, my mind, my soul. So, maybe that's why. I'm just kidding. Honestly, it's the technicality of it. The musicianship really showed me what's up. And then and honestly, it made me go back and listen to the other songs. The other songs are actually musically very, very efficient and very good. It's like I said, it's like, for instance, World Domination, that album is kind of like, because I love Stone Temple Pilots, is how I compare it to. They sound nothing alike, but hear me out on this. Stone Temple Pilots, their first album, Core, does not sound hard, does not sound like an intricate album at all. World Domination, some of the older Band-Maid songs don't sound intricate at all. But then when you go to learn the song, you're like, oh my God, what are they doing? Like, what is happening? And that's why I felt with the World Domination album. So that was I think the issue with me with Band-Maid is I remember I've been learning how to sing since like 3 years back, and I was doing a bunch of covers of STP because one of my favorite singers, Scott Weiland. And when I was learning, I'm like, okay, let me do this with Band-Maid. Let me go learn some Band-Maid songs. So I learned we've learned thrill. We were learning world domination riffs. I just did another one recently where I'm playing the riff. I can't remember. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Let me go keep learning. And that's how I fell in love with it. Because I wasn't a fan of Psyche's vocals. I think that's what was the big turnoff for me in the beginning was Psyche's vocals, believe it or not. I know people are like, what? You're insane. And they're probably right. But it was really the music writing is what's gotten me into Band-Maid the most, hands down. And then I've just grown to love Psyche's vocals over time because I've liked Miku's vocals from the start. I just like her vocally more for some reason, even though it's with what Psyche's doing is really good and it's amazing and I recognize it's phenomenal, just not my thing in comparison to Miku, where I love vocals, completely obsessed with them. You know what I mean? But after learning Psyche's vocal lines, like I mentioned earlier, I grew to love Psyche's vocals, and I think that's what was my changing point in Unseen World, because now I had the technicality to latch on to. Now I'm listening to Psyche even more. And now I'm understanding where she's coming from as a singer, feeling her passion. Then I was able to go back and then bam, that's when I became a fan. And I was like, all right, I fucking love this band.
It's like a big part of their magic is that it's very accessible to listen to, especially the choruses. They're just full of hooks. The hooks are everywhere in their choruses. But music, like you said, as you dissect the music, there's so much going on. When you listen to an album, you listen to a song, you focus on each instrument and you're like, I never heard that before until you actually listen for it, because it's woven together so well and so tightly. You're not aware of it until you pay attention and you're looking for it.
You know who I got to give credit to for getting me into Band-Maid? People are going to love this one. Rick Beato.
Okay, dude, explain that one.
Did you watch his video on Band-Maid?
I did. I watched that part, but this is before it. And this is why I say this. I'm always learning, guys, when I'm doing mixes. I'm always learning about mixes. Rick Beato is one of the people I look up to is in that world. And I watch so many videos. And the way he likes Genesis a lot. And I never liked Genesis. I'm like, this is what? You listen to this old album called Yellow Tail or something. I can't remember the name of it. It's an old 70s album. I'm like, let me check it out. If I listened to it without hearing him talk about it, I probably would not like it. But then I was like, no, this is amazing. I get what Rick's saying. I'm like, okay, I'm listening to it. And that's how it translated with Band-Maid for me. I'm like, let me look at it like I looked at Genesis 1971 album. Let me look at this Band-Maid stuff like that. And other Japanese bands, not just them. I started looking at it from a different lens. And I was just like, holy crap, this is like listening to Genesis. It's like, I love this. Like, I love how these notes go with this one, how the melody fits over here. Started hearing how it's going in the pocket. And that's what it's kind of funny. That's how Rick Beato kind of helped me.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it takes a tour guide.
That one, huh?
Takes the tour guide to make you appreciate all that good stuff. So for myself personally, I was listening to Band-Maid, 24/7 after I first discovered them. Like, it was just nonstop Band-Maid, like all the time. But my love for Band-Maid went up even more when I went to my first live in Hiroshima. This is back in 2018, September 22nd, 2018. And when I saw them live, it just floored me. And I didn't realize I could love a band even more, but I did. So I'm curious for you personally, when you actually went to see them live and you experienced their shows, did it affect you? I'm sure it affected you, but in sort of what way?
I grew more of a love for Psyche, 100%, watching the live shows. So something, again, Psyche was the thing that kind of held me back. But after I saw the acoustic live, I was like, oh my God, her vocals are phenomenal. What? I'm so stupid. And then when I saw her live, I was like, oh my God, I'm stupid again. Like, how did I not see this? I think I walked away having a huge appreciation for her because I already knew the members knew what's up. You know what I mean? You can hear it. Like, I already knew Akane and Misa and Konami were going to be phenomenal, and Miku. Like, I already knew they were going to be phenomenal, right? It was just like, I want to see how Psyche's vocals translate. Once I saw her live, I think that's what made me love Band-Maid. That's how I'm a really big fan of them now. I think that helped me bridge that gap.
What was your like holy shit moment at, say, the LA show where this is like, you're like, okay, this band is, I don't, this band's amazing. I don't know.
Dude, it happened in the first chord that they play. Because, the reason why I say it happened on the first chord that they played is because I'm like, oh my God, they're right in front of me. I've been watching them on a little TV screen and reacting to them. And now they're like right there. Like, when they play the first chord, the riff that comes in my head. Okay, I do have one. Why can't I? Wait, hit me. And then everybody just started to chant. That's when I knew. Oh my God, what song is it? I can't remember the name to save my life. But and then a bass line. And then when she went like this, and everyone was like, hey, it would just start off. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the song. It's gonna bother me. That was the one.
I love that song. That's that one.
All the mind readers out there,
If you can translate Alan's first notes from what he just sang, we will give you $1,000.
Like, and then Miku comes in with the chant, like, da-da, 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 da-da. I don't know, whatever. I can't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna be lying in bed going, that bastard. Okay, I need to actually go back to a question I asked you at the first interview that you did with SJ and myself. And I don't know if you're okay to answer this. I hope you are. But at that interview, I asked you the question and you walked off stage. You walked off the screen and then you came back.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Do you remember?
I think I'm better today. So I was, yeah.
So the question I asked you, what's your favorite Band-Maid song? And you said Sayo nakidori.
Yep.
And I asked you, why was Sayo nakidori so special? Because it is special to you. And if you're not okay, we can do it on the next interview.
It's because I don't know.
Okay.
The way that she sings the vocals is like very passionate in it, and it just resonated with me. And I don't entirely know why. Like, when I found out the lyrics were about the Romeo and Juliet kind of theme, I was like, okay. But something about the way that Miku sings it, and then when she hits the high notes, it brings up a crazy amount of emotions in me that I cannot explain. I don't know. So like, when I hear those notes, something about the notes really hit me, especially at the end when she's like, I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just done for.
So that's one of your hit you in the feel song. What's your song that you hear the first few notes and you like ready to peel the paint off the walls and just burn everything down around it, just go nuts? What's your go nuts song?
Oh my God. From Band-Maid?
Yeah.
Oh. I would say No God. I think I was on the balcony with Wave, and we just started going nuts. I thought the balcony was going to collapse on us because it was like four of us just moshing in our own little circle and going. I think Wave posted like a little short about it. Saying No God. That, what else? There was another one that we heard. I think Isle 2 is another one. Even though I haven't heard that live much. Did I get a chance to see that live?
Isle? No.
That was
no,
I think
Hate. I think you heard Hate live.
I heard Hate, but not, yeah. Isle's another one because it's like so different off of that EP, that Unleash EP when that comes in. I really loved that song. I remember listening to the EP and Isle came. I'm like, oh, yes. But when I heard the live version of it, you could tell they didn't do it as much. So I'd love to hear that again live, or just see how they bring that. But that'd be another one. I'd say No God and Isle for sure. For sure. Just like go crazy. But the first few notes, like there's so many of them by Band-Maid that would it'd be Sayo Nakidori also. That I think Ryan will remember that probably the best, that moment in LA. When I heard that, when I heard Sayo Nakidori, looked at him, he's like, I was just like, just gave him this look. That was the moment I put my camera down. I'm like, screw this. My phone away. I'm like, damn. Yeah, that was the moment I put my phone away. I was like, screw this. I'm just gonna watch the show.
Like for my question I asked you and you came up with No Gut, for me, it's warning, and just you need to give me a little extra space or someone's going to catch a L because I'm just losing my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't get an elbow. I was okay. Maybe because I'm shorter.
Yeah.
Unseen World is there's so many songs out there you could throw an elbow to.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal album.
Yeah.
Like I did a little short review when it came out, and I listened to it. I remember the first time it came out, my brain started hurting because there was just so much coming at me and I couldn't process it. So it took like actually a few weeks to make it start to make sense as I was listening. And then the thought that came to mind was Magnum 44 Opus. That's what that album is. Like I think it's amazing. It's an amazing album.
And on the negative side, because it's so compressed to hell, you're tired when you're done listening to it. It's just wears your ears out, and then the musicality wears your mind out.
That's when you listen to Conqueror to just sort of like relax a little bit more.
I gotta listen to Conqueror more. I've been on a world domination obsession, so I've been just listening to that. I didn't realize how heavy that album is. It's funny because people were saying World Domination is pretty compressed and Conqueror, but like Unseen World is really compressed. And the reason why it's so compressed is because of the fucking musicality of it. There's so much going on. And I think that's why they overly compress it, because there's a lot happening. Where like in World Domination, there's a lot of breath. There's a lot of breathing. And that's equally as hard and equally as difficult to pull off, in the mixing world. And as a musicianship, just knowing when to play, it's like that whole concept of less is more. And I think World Domination is a beauty when it comes to that kind of playing. The writing of that album is phenomenal. I'd actually almost would say World Domination probably be the best written album, in my opinion, from Band-Maid. And yes, this is, even though I love Unseen World, the writing to World Domination is like pinnacle to me. Just like listening to, from a mixing perspective, producing, the way the songs carry themselves, how they let Misa breathe with the bass lines, the guitars, the licks, the way that they go through it. It's well written. It's a well written album, like very, very well thought out. Not that the other ones aren't. It's very coherent. Where Unseen World, they're letting loose. And Unleash is like a further extension of them. That like letting loose. But I don't know. I'm not sure what happened with World Domination, how that was written, or why it was written the way that it was. Because that's another great thing about Band-Maid is like every album is so different in its own. You could come away just being a favorite of one album and be completely satisfied for the next 7 months listening to one album. Because I'm one of those people that can listen to one album forever, and it'll take me forever to get to the next one.
So based on what you just said, 15 years from now at the 25th anniversary tour of what we have now, what album are they going to play in its entirety front to back? What would be that album? What would be that one you get the fans to come back for the album front to back?
It'd be World Domination. World Domination is such a good mix of everything. It has elements of Unseen World, it has elements of Conqueror, it has elements of their older stuff. It just has elements of everything. So I say World Domination.
What do you say,
Peter? That's
first.
That's where my head is. It's always been World Dominance. It's kind of it's like their master of puppets. It's a bunch of great songs. It's got a couple that are just, legendary status within their catalog. but every song is really, really good and it can stand on its own. That's why I use the Master of Puppets comparison.
Ah, but God, couldn't you say that about Just Bring It as well?
You
That's
could.
good.
I'm not going to.
I'm just about to say that next. Wait, see what I mean? You could, everyone could come up with an album. It just,
yeah.
World Dominations. Well, I can't believe I kind of like looked past that, like in the beginning, you know, because the first song we react to is Domination.
It's not a bad song. That Misa Girl's got some nice licks.
Yeah.
All right. I do have another question. I mean, we kind of worked a little bit backwards and a little bit forwards, and I want to work our way really back. Is what was it that made you want to be a musician? Who was it? What was it?
Oh man. The reason why I wanted to be a musician was because I was sick of watching other people play guitar. I was sick of people playing and I'm not being able to do it. And I don't remember what it was. I don't know what it was. I was just like, I wanted to play. I was like, because the main thing was because people made it seem like it was impossible to do. I was like, I'm gonna do it, you know. And I was very big into vocals like back then. Which I really regret giving up on the whole vocal thing. Because at the time, you know, I was told you can never learn it or whatever, and you shouldn't do it. So I didn't do it. I just did guitar. So the first thing I wanted to do was drums. I wanted to play drums first. Couldn't afford it. I wanted to do vocals. Realized I sucked at singing. And I used to write a lot. So I wrote a lot of lyrics, wrote a lot of poems. We make a bunch of mixtapes. We would like cut up songs. We'd cut up songs and like form them together. Cassettes. So we take the cassettes, we would like we'd record the verses, and then we record the choruses, and then like kind of mix them together. And that's how I got into music. I like started doing that. I didn't even realize, I guess I was technically already starting to mix and produce and didn't even realize it. But we were just like, we thought it'd be funny to take a Oasis chorus and put it with like a Limp Bizkit verse track. So we take some rap verse, like there's suicidal tendencies things like, all I wanted was a Pepsi, just one Pepsi, far from suicidal, still get some tendencies. And we take like that and like mix that up with other like choruses and stuff. I think that's probably where the progressive stuff came from. I forgot where we're getting at this. So I was like, okay, well, I'm sick of doing this. I'm sick of doing this cassette thing. I really want to play guitar. Asked my mom, she said no. She said, I'm not buying you that because you won't ever play. So yeah, I was a very stubborn kid, and I saved up my lunch money, because I got $1 a day I saved up for 2 years, and I was 14 years old. So I had a bunch of $1 bills. Walked into Toys R Us, bought a first stack guitar, and fucking played the shit out of it till the machines were falling off. I had toothpicks that I would hammer in the back just to hold the machines in because I played it so much that the screws were coming out of it. And then finally, my dad was like, he had just bought a guitar for my stepsister. So, but now I love him for this. Back then, though, I did not love him for this. He was like, well, my stepsister's time, she doesn't play the guitar anyways, but you seem to actually like playing guitar and your guitar's falling apart. You know, he's like, here it is. And I'm like, awesome. He's like, yeah, but you're going to work every weekend and you come to visit me in the pizza shop to pay it off. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. So yeah, that's how I grew a really big passion for guitar, because I poured my sweat and tears. I probably worked a job for free for many years, for many years to pay off a lot of things. But it was worth it to me. I was like, I loved it. And then I just started getting into it, start playing it. And then I remember my mom was like, oh, wow, you're actually like really playing. Because I just played video games up to that point. I skateboarded and played video games. I wanted to be a pro skater. So it's like, and that was when I got so obsessed with guitar, I was like, yeah, I'm never going to become a pro skater. I have a better chance of becoming a musician. I'm just going to do that instead. Yeah, no, I loved it. I was playing punk back then. I was doing every punk cover I possibly could. And I didn't even know how to play. My friend Joey, which has been on channel a couple times, he he's just like, dude, you should play guitar. And we just started playing in my garage, and that's how it happened. And we just kept doing it over and over again. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's a great story. I don't know. I mean, it definitely says a lot about your character. For you to save up for 2 years, for you to go at that guitar that much, and I don't know, it's awesome. And for you to be where you are, I think, God damn, I wish you well. I wish you well in music, and I hope you keep on like breaking guitars and like buying new ones and working your ass out. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, that guitar I smashed into a pavement. I regret it to this day. Oh my God. I still have the neck though. It's because I want to know what it feel like. You know, I watched all my heroes smash guitars into the ground. I'm like, oh, that seems cool. Dude, I'm not even gonna lie. Swung into the ground, watch it go in pieces. I'm just like, I died. I was like, why the fuck did I do that? Because you know, you're like, you saved up 2 years for that thing, and you just pile drive it into the ground. I was like, I need to go all in. I fall through and everything.
This is why you're still doing music and I'm not. If I had only smashed my guitar.
And that's it's funny because I did that, and not, to this day, now I'm like, I just cringe at people that do it, like hit their guitar, and I'm like, how? You guys are insane. I have a deep love for my guitar. Like, it's so weird. I remember when I sold a guitar, I was like emotional about it. I'm like, couldn't even, like, it's so crazy. Like, this is why I can't like buy a lot of guitars, because like I get into these weird collecting and selling phases, and like I still have like all my first guitars, like my Ibanez Iceman and stuff like that. When I bought that when I was 17, but I can't get rid of it because I'm so attached to it, and I try to sell it for a ridiculous amount if I do sell it, if I try to. So.
I have two of my earlies. I have my first guitar ever that I've done a shit ton of mods to it. It's a POS. It's like $150 guitar that I put twin EMG 81s in. So there's more in the damn pickups than the guitar cost to buy it new.
Oh shit. Speaking of, here, I got it right around the corner. Let me just. Oh, actually, I got both of them. So this was the second guitar that I ever bought that I saved up for.
Oh, damn.
So yeah. And it's $700 back then. It was took forever to buy. But
if you were to sell that, how much would you sell it for?
In my head, it's like 10 grand.
Are those 81s in there?
Yeah, this 81. And when you mentioned that, I was like, 81 and a 60, 81 and then 60. Yeah. I just got these like a year ago too, these pickups. I'm like, because I never really liked the original ones. So I was like, it'd be cool because this is an alien guitar, HR Geiger one. And I was like, let me put it in like eyes, like demon eyes, you know? I was like, let me put the pickups in it. And it sounds amazing now. I love it. I was just setting it up the other day on stream. And then my first military guitar, when I would join the military, this is my first paycheck. I bought this HR Geiger. I love this thing. But yeah,
that's an Ibanez.
This is Ibanez. Yeah, this is with Fishman. Yeah, see, first guitar I played was Ibanez. Right after first stack, I played Ibanez ever since.
I had a Ibanez Roadstar. I forget what the number was. I got it when I was in 6th grade. Had it with me up until college, and then I was at my church at that time. We played, we rehearsed, we were grabbing a meal afterwards, and when we went back, it was gone. Somebody just came in, stole it, and took off with it.
From church?
Wow. Somebody from outside. I don't know how, just walking by. I guess doors were open.
They're going to hell.
So.
I gotta.
Well, I do have work tomorrow, guys. And as much as I have loved this conversation and would love to continue it at another time.
You're like, what did I get myself into?
No, I mean, I'm always happy to have a conversation and to sit back and relax. And if it weren't for having to have a house over my head or have a roof over my head and pay the bills.
I feel you, man.
So real quick question before we close it up. Alan, how was it being on the receiving end of an interview?
Weird. It's a little weird. I like
All
talking,
right.
so it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, like both Scott and I had the privilege of being on your channel with you, with Ryan, and just having a good talk all the time. So thank you for returning the favor, coming over to our channel. And yeah, we definitely hope that you continue to grow your channel. You continue to do some good stuff with your music, and yeah, keep on spreading the word of Band-Maid, and let people know how
Oh, yeah.
good how good the good is.
I appreciate you guys having me, first of all. So thank you for inviting me on and everything. And it was a blast.
Sure.
So I love doing it.
All right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. We are slowly closing in on 2,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe, please comment, please like, please tell us how much Alan's stories and how much his enthusiasm for music has affected you guys. Just send some good words, some good vibes. And if there's nothing else left to say, thank you so much, Alan. Thank you, SJ, for being right there with me. And yeah, we will see you again sometime soon. So have a good week. This has been MNN, and goodbye.
Sayonara.
Bye-bye. Sayo nakidori. All right. Bye, guys.